Military and aviation expert and former officer Anatoly Khrapchinsky stated that Russian strategic aviation has effectively lost its combat capability, and its current state forces the Kremlin to rely on the use of attack drones like the Shahed. According to him, Operation Spiderweb, which dealt a critical blow to the capabilities of Russian long-range aviation, was the decisive factor. In an interview with Telegraf, Khrapchinsky emphasized that the Tu-95Ms strategic bombers had completely exhausted their service life. Russia attempted to modernize them by installing more missiles, but this only worsened the aircraft's design, as the wings were not reinforced and a new engine was not developed. Unlike the United States, which has kept its bombers up to date for decades, Moscow used the old aircraft to the last screw. Operation Spiderweb was the final nail in the coffin. Russia's strategic aviation was already dying. The Tu-95Ms aircraft had been exhausted, the analyst explained. As for the Tu-160, a supposedly more modern aircraft, Russia has never been able to establish full-scale production. Today's new aircraft are merely refurbished Soviet-era examples. However, the problems of the Soviet design persist. There have been instances where the missile launch mechanism has failed to activate when the bomb bay doors are opened, forcing the aircraft to return to alternate airfields with their ammunition. The expert identified another problem as the irrational use of strategic aviation. Instead of using it to launch missiles at targets thousands of kilometers away, the Russian military uses expensive launch vehicles and missiles for strikes at only 700 kilometers. Khrapchinsky recalled that under Shoigu, Russia attempted to compensate for this weakness by modernizing its tactical missiles. This resulted in the Kh-69 based on the Kh-59. Its range was increased to 400 kilometers, but this is still significantly less than the capabilities of Western equivalents, such as the JASSM 900 kilometers or the Storm Shadow 650 kilometers. Thus, Russia lacks fully fledged long-range missiles for tactical aviation, and its strategic aviation is a living corpse, incapable of full-scale combat operations. This is why the Kremlin is relying on Iranian drones, which are cheaper and do not require expensive modernization of older aircraft.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday lamented the lack of decisive action by the UN Security Council over Russian aggression. According to Associated Press addressing the council members in New York, Zelensky slammed Russian President Vladimir Putin and ally China. Putin only cares about using every meeting, every chance to keep the war going. Each day Russia kills our people, destroys our cities and leaves no sign it will ever return to the principles of the UN Charter, the Ukrainian leader said. Zelensky earlier held a bilateral meeting with US President Donald Trump.
Very much, President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished leaders, representatives. We must admit the world's attention to the UN is fading. The organization has less influence, and too often there is a lack of real decisions on fundamental issues. This is exactly what we need to speak about today, about the tools that sadly are not working now. But they will work, I'm sure. They will work if you are active, if we are active, because the main tool is in your hands. Today, there will be a clear call for peace in this council. And here is one of the main distortions of our time. Whom must we call to peace, and on whom must we press to achieve it? One of the prominent members of this council is doing everything to prolong the largest war in Europe since World War II. Russia does this with impunity, using its veto power, buying influence, and keeping peace on hold. The Russian representatives is here. but of course not the one who makes the real decisions. That man fears to sit face to face with Ukraine and the world and openly admit he wants only war. Instead, Putin sends delegates who cannot and don't want to stop the bloodshed. And when he appears abroad, in Beijing or somewhere else, it's only to buy more time for killing, pretending he seeks diplomacy. Putin only cares about using every meeting, every chance to keep the war going. Each day Russia kills our people, destroys our cities, and leaves no sign it will ever return to the principles of the UN Charter. China is also represented here, a powerful nation on which Russia now depends completely. If China truly wanted this war to stop, it could compel Moscow to end the invasion. Without China, Putin's Russia is nothing. Yet too often, China stays silent and distant instead of active for peace. The United States of America is present here as well, a strong nation that supports our defense, and we've said yes to every proposal from the US president for a ceasefire and talks with Russia to bring peace, but Russia always says no or tries to confuse everyone so that even a ceasefire can't happen. And I met with President Trump just now, and we spoke about how to finally bring peace, and we discussed a few good ideas, and I hope they will work. And I'm grateful for this meeting, and we expect America's actions to push Russia toward peace. Moscow fears America and always pays attention to it. The United Kingdom is here, a permanent member of the Security Council. France is here, also a permanent member. Both nations support us, support our people, our independence. Both promote diplomacy, and both are parties to a document that was supposed to be a positive milestone, together with the other permanent members of the UN Security Council, but instead it became a warning to the world. The Budapest Memorandum, meant to guarantee Ukraine's security in exchange for giving up nuclear weapons, failed. It proved that international promises can turn into blabbering. That is why today, with Britain, with France, and already with more than 30 nations in our coalition of willings, we are building a new security architecture. We count on the United States of America as a backstop. Real security guarantees must become the line Russia cannot cross again. Here is one example of how strength can stop war. If we could strengthen our skies with a joint system to shut down Russian missiles and drones, it would force Russia to stop its attack from the sky, because everything could be shut down, and so Putin would be forced to sit here or in another respectable venue.